On the 6th of March 2024, an agitated mother called the police for help in West Palm Beach, a city in Florida. Her daughter had been found dead in the house not long after she had been proposed to. The daughter was 18-year-old Kelvi Mccray, who was shot by a man whom she said yes to his engagement proposal moments before. In a very frantic and painful manner, her mom called the police to the residence in West Palm Beach after the shocking discovery of her lifeless body. This is the heartbreaking story of Kelvi Mccray. This story would take us to West Palm Beach, Florida, a place known for its beautiful beaches, vibrant art scene, and luxurious shopping areas like Worth Avenue. The chances of being a victim of violent crime in West Palm Beach is 1 in 211, which is a very high number. Unfortunately for Kelvi, she would become a victim of violent crime. Kelvi Mccray was a truly blessed child who was named after her father, Kelvin. Growing up, she excelled in sports, playing basketball and running track at Inlet Grove High School. Even in high school, Kelvi stood out as one of the flashiest students because she loved fashion. Her outfits always looked good and her hair was usually silk pressed. It is no surprise that after graduation, she pursued multiple passions, including modeling, singing, and social media.
Knowing that I'm precious, I was told on sight it ain't nobody but a feather. Keep calling on my phone, he keep on calling. If I let him free my nephew, just be quiet, cause these niggas out here telling. I can't fake pretend with all these bitches in my mini-me's. Niggas trying to be the guys you ain't.
As a model, she got some small-time gigs because she was trying to break through in the industry. Kelvi did all of this while studying cosmetology, which must have been difficult. In fact, she had just received her cosmetology security license and was on the way to making it a big part of her business. Although she was only 18 years old, Kelvi Mccray was a young woman full of personality and charm. As described by her family, Kelvi was entrepreneurial at heart. She successfully ran her own little hairstyling business where she took joy in enhancing the beauty of her friends and the young women around her. The reason Kelvi worked so hard to make money and improve her life was probably because she was deeply connected to her family, especially her father, with whom she shared a close bond.
Yo, get that box in the back. Open, get that box.
Oh, sure, I gotta tell Easy. Oh, this big box. Little slick man. Little slick man, boy. I gotta tell Easy. Oh, you snapped, Dad. You snapped. My dad does, man. Never settle for less.
She was a daddy's girl who enjoyed hanging out with her father. Kelvi was known for her strong work ethic and ambition, always eager to make the most of her talents. In her personal life, she was in a relationship with 19-year-old Kayshawn Shaw, who she had started dating in high school. They shared memorable moments and even attended prom together. He was a big part of her life because her family knew Kayshawn, since he would always come around to hang out with Kelvi when they started dating. Despite her vibrant life and aspirations, Kelvi faced challenges in her relationship that ultimately led to tragedy. While in their prom pictures they looked like the perfect young couple, in reality, their relationship was a mess. Kelvi Mccray and Kayshawn Shaw had been in a relationship for about a year. Friends and family described their relationship as stormy, marked by frequent arguments and reconciliations. They would end things and get back together several times. Despite the ups and downs, Kelvi had a compassionate heart and allowed Kayshawn to live with her and her family when he said he had nowhere else to go. Now, no one knows why Kayshawn was homeless at such a young age or what his own family was doing, but Kelvi's family was nice enough to let him stay. However, this probably puts a strain on their relationship. It's not hard to imagine how small arguments could turn into something big because of the stress they were both under. This living situation would end up building aggression in Kayshawn until he could no longer hold his dark thoughts in anymore. After many arguments, Kelvi ended the relationship in January. a decision that Kayshawn struggled to accept. According to close friends, Kayshawn had been persistently asking Kelvi to reconcile, but she remained firm in her decision to move on. She was tired of the relationship and wanted nothing to do with him. However, she did not throw him out on the streets. Her family was still accommodating Kayshawn even after they broke up, because he had nowhere to go. That did not stop Kayshawn from trying to get Kelvi back. At first, he resorted to emotionally blackmailing her by crying and talking about how she was all he had. But Kelvi did not give in to his games. This refusal seemed to have provoked Kayshawn's feelings of rejection and anger, setting the stage for his unjustified actions. On March 5th, 2024, just a day before the fatal shooting, Kelvi called 911 to report an assault by Kayshawn. She told the police that he had strangled her, pointed a gun at her head, and briefly held her against her will. When she attempted to escape, Kayshawn allegedly threw himself onto her car's windshield, shattering it completely. Afterward, he ran away because he knew he had messed up. After the police arrived, he was subsequently charged with false imprisonment, aggravated assault, and battery, among other offenses. Despite these charges, Kayshawn was not immediately apprehended because he was nowhere to be found. Law enforcement officials were actively searching for him throughout the day. He was eventually found somewhere around town and led the police in an intense car chase, which took them 5 miles. Eventually, the police had to stop chasing him because it was unsafe, so he managed to evade capture. This failure to detain him would have great consequences the following day. On the evening of March 6, Kelvi was at home alone enjoying a FaceTime call with 3 friends. After the series of events that had been going on, a nice conversation with her friends seemed like a great way to take her mind off things and de-stress. She was sitting down to dinner, unaware of the impending danger. According to one of the friends on the call, Kayshawn entered the room unexpectedly and began shooting at Kelvi wildly. This tragedy didn't happen in some distant place. It happened during a casual chat with friends, where she should have been safest. Kayshawn had lived with Kelvi, so he knew how to get into her home undetected to carry out this terrible crime. Her friends, helpless witnesses on the other side of the screen, were forced to watch in horror as Kelvi's ex-boyfriend turned the gun on himself to end his life as well. Kelvi's mother, who was home when this happened, immediately sprang into action. She called West Palm Beach Police Department officials, who immediately responded to the report of a shooting inside a home in the 1400 block of 13th Street, near North Australian Avenue, on a Wednesday evening. When they arrived, they found Kelvi Mccray with several gunshot wounds. A neighbor had also called the police. She explained that she had heard gunshots from her home, so she went to find out what was happening, but by then, it was too late. Kelvi was struck multiple times in the head, neck, and back. The friends on the FaceTime call witnessed the horrific event in real time. The police were able to rush both of them to St. Mary's Medical Center, where Kelvi succumbed to her injuries later that evening and sadly passed away. Kayshawn, however, died the following day. The community was left shattered by the shock of Kelvi's death. On a somber evening at Singer Island, hundreds gathered to honor the life of Kelvi Mccray. Family and friends filled the Riviera Beach Municipal Beach Park. They all wore Kelvi's favorite colors and had hundreds of balloons in purple and pink. The vigil was held a week after her death as a heartfelt tribute to a young life cut short by violence. Kelvi's mother, Marla McKinney, shared her grief, recounting the terrible night her daughter was taken from her. She said she could hear the shots every day and see Kelvi on the floor as well.
I hear the shots every day. I see her on the floor every day.
It is a sad thing to imagine that a mother would witness such a horrific crime committed by someone she hosted in her home. Despite the pain, Marla found solace in the support of those who loved Kelvi. The vigil was a reflection of Kelvi's vibrant personality and her love for the beach. As candles illuminated the night, attendees shared memories and prayers, creating a circle of love and remembrance. Her uncle, Ricky Aiken, who was also the family spokesman, expressed the collective grief, stating that the tragedy was not just in her death, but in the manner and age at which she died.
The tragedy isn't that she died. You know, we all must go the way that Kelvi went. The tragedy is probably in how she died and how old she was when she died.
Kelvi was so young and would have become a wonderful woman. He further stated that he believed that this experience highlighted the need to protect girls by making sure they know what to do if they were to find themselves in a situation like this. Her funeral service was gracefully decorated in a way to symbolize her great character and personality. Kelvi was laid to rest, looking as beautiful as she did even while alive. One question that rang in the family was, why did the police not try to take Kelvi to safety after she was threatened by Kayshawn the previous day? He was on the police's radar before the shooting. It is obvious that this teenager was a danger to society, and although it would have seemed like one day would not have made a difference, in this case, it ended up costing Kelvi her life. Although the police tried to arrest him and failed, they didn't offer to relocate her to an undisclosed location to keep her safe from someone who could come back home and commit another violent crime. And that's exactly what happened the very next day. What are your thoughts on this case? Is there anything else that should have been done differently? Did law enforcement do their absolute best to protect Kelvi, or should they have done more? Let us know in the comments.
We begin this hour with the story of a 23-year-old young woman from Bridgeport, Connecticut, who died. She was healthy, but then was found dead.
On the morning of December 12, 2021, a man was waking up in a young woman's apartment in Bridgeport, Connecticut, when he realized that the person beside him was not breathing and that there was blood coming from her nose.
It's killing me inside. I miss my baby.
A day before this incident, 23-year-old Lauren Smith Fields had met an old man. She informed her brother on a quick phone call that the man she had met was white and seemed to be promising. They were going out on a date. However, what she did not plan on was that the following morning, she would be found dead on the bloody sheets of her bed. And more shockingly, nobody was asking as to why or what happened.
The I-Team obtained this police report of the response to a 911 call from Lauren's apartment on the morning of December 12th from a white male identified as Matthew LaFountain. The investigator notes he was trembling and visibly shaken. LaFountain said they met on the dating site Bumble, began drinking shots of tequila, and Lauren became ill. That later they played some games, ate some food, and started to watch a movie. He says he carried her to her bedroom and laid her in her bed. He then laid down next to her and fell asleep. He woke up again at approximately 0630 hours, and she was laying on her right side. Blood was coming out of her right nostril onto the bed, and she was not breathing.
Before we begin, we would love to extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Lauren Smith Fields and everyone affected by the death on that tragic day. This case takes us all the way to Bridgeport, Connecticut. Lauren Smith Fields was born on January 23, 1998, in Bridgeport, Connecticut, to Chantel Fields and Everett Smith. From a young age, Lauren was described as a bright and ambitious individual who was deeply loved by her family. Growing up, she was surrounded by a supportive network that included her three brothers, Kyle Fields, Lakeem Jeter, and Tavar Gray. This close-knit family environment helped shape Lauren into a caring and driven young woman. Lauren attended Still Meadow Elementary School and Ripplewham Middle School in Stamford. She excelled academically and made friends easily with her warm, outgoing personality. Teachers and students alike were drawn to Lauren's positive energy and willingness to help others. In high school, Lauren's talents and interests blossomed. She was a member of the National Honor Society, the Black Student Union, and the track and field team at Stamford High School. Her favorite subjects were biology and psychology, sparking an early interest in the medical field. After graduating high school with honors, Lauren pursued her passions at Dutchess Community College in Poughkeepsie, New York. She enrolled in the nursing program, following her desire to help others and make a positive impact on the world. Growing up, Lauren was one with a knack for the good things of life. She loved traveling and enjoyed living a lavish lifestyle. We took a sneak peek at her Instagram, and we discovered that Lauren's lifestyle involved her traveling from one country to the other, all for the sole purpose of having fun. At 23 years old, Lauren decided to try online dating and created a profile on the popular app called Bumble, a second popular dating app with over 50 million users, of which 38% of users fall within the 25 to 34 age bracket, while 5% are aged 55 to 64. On December 8, 2021, She matched with Matthew LaFontaine, a 37-year-old man from Bridgeport, Connecticut. The two hit it off immediately, bonding over their shared interests in travel, food, and family. A conversation about their common interests in traveling was alleged to be the leading factor for their quick connection. And truly, Lauren liked to travel. She had been to London and Italy, to mention a few of those countries Lauren might have visited before this tragedy. Her date partner also can be seen in this viral picture wearing something like a hiking backpack, if not so, which then proves to us their passion for travel. Matthew seemed like a kind, respectful man, and Lauren was excited about the prospect of a new relationship. She looked forward to meeting him in person and seeing where things might go. Little did she know that fateful Bumble date would be the last time she would travel anywhere again, and more shockingly, the last time her family would see her alive. On the evening of December 11, 2021, 23-year-old Lauren Smith Fields met up with 37-year-old Matthew LaFontaine for a date.
Are you taking a picture or video?
Video.
Tell me when.
Go. I started it.
They decided to meet in person at Lauren's apartment in Bridgeport, Connecticut. In LaFontaine's statement, he remembered arriving at Smithfield's apartment around 9:30 p.m. the night before. According to him, Lauren requested $40 to do her nails and invited him over with a bottle of tequila, which he did. They drank, played games, had some food, and settled in to watch a movie for some time. But then, things took an unusual turn. She suddenly excused herself to the bathroom, where he could hear her getting sick. Later, she stepped outside, saying she needed to grab something from her brother. She then returned and went straight to the bathroom again for like 10 to 15 minutes, before she returned to watch the movie. LaFontaine admitted to finding this behavior odd, but felt it wasn't his place to question it. After all, they had only just met. As the movie continued, Smith Fields drifted off to sleep. LaFontaine says he gently carried her to the bedroom and lay down beside her, and LaFontaine sleeping on the other side of the same bed. Hours later, around 3 a.m., he got up to use the bathroom and heard her snoring, a sound that seemed to assure him everything was fine. But by 6:30 a.m., that uneasy calm shattered. LaFontaine woke to find her motionless, not breathing, and blood dripping from her right nose. In a panic, he called 911. The operator told him to perform CPR, but despite his efforts, Lauren didn't wake up. When the paramedics arrived, they pronounced Lauren dead at the scene. Matthew was described as being in shock, visibly shaken by what had happened. Later, the medical examiner said that Lauren had died from an accidental overdose caused by a mix of fentanyl, alcohol, and prescription drugs.
The results showed fentanyl in her system, along with 2 other. The autopsy says the combination of those substances with alcohol led to what it calls an accidental death. In a video statement last night, the family attorney said they believe there was foul play.
Someone introduced those drugs to her system, and it wasn't her. And we want answers right now.
After these findings, investigators moved to question Matthew, but not in the way or manner in which interrogations associated with a death like this usually happen. They invited him over and asked him some questions, but that was about it. One would have thought that even the fact that Matthew had denied having sex with her and the investigation finding otherwise would be enough reason to infer that Matthew had something to do with murder. However, this was not the case, as the investigators showed little interest. But this was not the most heart-wrenching part. Up to this point, Lauren's family did not know what happened to their daughter.
No one is going to discard my daughter like she's rubbish.
I feel like because she's a white guy and she's a black girl, it's just almost like they just thrown it under the rug.
Her mother, who had not heard from her daughter in days, she sent texts and made calls, but there was no answer. Worried, she decided to visit her daughter's apartment, hoping everything is okay. When she arrived, she found a note on the door that said, "If you are looking for Lauren, please contact this number." She called the number with a heavy heart, and that's when she hears the worst news possible. Her daughter is dead. They say a detective will come to meet her soon, but she waits for what feels like forever.
They say the detective promised to come by the apartment.
Never showed up.
The family says the relationship with police devolved from there.
When she finally calls again, desperate for information, they tell her to stop calling and then hang up on her, leaving her in shock and pain. The police didn't investigate the scene until days later. When the family finally entered the apartment, they saw things the police should have seen.
The family says they provided evidence they'd collected to crime scene investigators who arrived for the first time that day, included a bloody sheet and a pill.
And 2 cups of like drinks or whatever next to a bottle. They didn't take none of that. We seen a condom, we seen lube, other stuff in there. They didn't take none of this.
Cups of liquor, flipped plates, a bloodstain on the bed, all ignored as if they didn't matter. The police were supposed to find out what happened to their daughter to help bring some peace to her family. Instead, they failed, leaving a grieving mother to learn about her daughter's death in the worst way, and a family to wonder if they will ever get the answers they deserve. Lauren's family was deeply upset by the medical examiner's findings. They believed that the police had not done a proper investigation and that Matthew LaFontaine, the last person to see Lauren alive, should have been looked at more closely. They felt that the police had not treated Lauren's death with the seriousness it deserved. The family took action. They began speaking out on social media, sharing their frustrations with the Bridgeport Police Department and demanding answers. They wanted justice for Lauren and to raise awareness about how cases involving Black women are often handled differently. Lauren's second brother, Jeter, said recounting the night of December 11th when he called her to bring out his basket of clothes he was picking up. He claimed he didn't know that anybody was in there and that she came out and was out there for like 10 to 15 minutes before she walked back into the house. According to him, she looked normal. She didn't look sick, tired, or even drunk. In his words, he said, "I'm her second older brother. If I had seen her drunk, I would have said, 'What are you doing? Why do you look like that?'" He also claimed that contrary to what LaFontaine said, her nails had been done earlier and didn't need to be done again, and especially not for her funeral. With Lauren's mother left to plan her own daughter's funeral just days before Christmas, she expressed grief, and the pain this caused her could be very evident. They also decided to sue the police department, accusing them of not doing a proper investigation and violating their civil rights. Their lawyer, Darnell Crosland, argued that cases involving missing white women often receive more attention and resources than those involving Black women. The family felt ignored and disrespected throughout the process. The case drew so much attention, one so vivid that even popular celebrities like Cardi B, who saw the unfair treatment this family experienced, had come out to say a piece of her mind. After hearing about Smithfield's death, Cardi B took to Twitter on January 23, 2022, with a powerful message. She was outraged by how the media was framing the situation, pointing out that it made it seem like Smithfields was involved with an older man. Cardi B tweeted, "Nah, this man doesn't look old, and yet the media made it seem like she was with an old man looking to trick her," criticizing the misleading narrative and calling out Connecticut for its failure to act. Cardi B also posted this affirming that Connecticut failed young Lauren. Her vocal stance led to the Bridgeport Police Department reopening the investigation, which had initially been brushed off as an accidental overdose. Family attorney Darnell Crosland acknowledged that it was Cardi's intervention that finally got the police to take the case seriously. The family was deeply grateful for Cardi's involvement, recognizing that her public outcry was crucial in bringing much-needed attention to the case and pushing for justice. Mayor Joe Gainham of Bridgeport, Connecticut, was forced to take action against 2 police officers.
I want to once again express my condolences to the families of Lauren Smithfields and of Brenda Lee Rawls. And I want you to know that I am extremely disappointed with the leadership of the Bridgeport Police Department and have found the actions taken up to this point with regards to these two investigations unacceptable. After viewing these matters even more closely, and in the absence of the police chief, I've directed the deputy chief, Chief Baraha, to immediately put on administrative leave the two officers who are the subject of the Bridgeport Police Internal Affairs investigation for lack of sensitivity to the public, for failure to follow police policy in the handling of these two matters. So to be clear, effective immediately, both Detective Llanos and Detective Cronin are suspended from duties and put on administrative leave until such time as the Office of OIA has finished their investigation and disciplinary cases have been completed. In addition, the supervising officer who was in charge of overseeing these matters, has retired from the department this past Friday.
The Smithfields family also started a GoFundMe campaign to hire their own investigator. They knew the road ahead would be difficult, but they were determined to uncover the truth. By the way, we have linked Lauren's GoFundMe page in this video description. Moving on, the family also organized public marches and demonstrations to honor Lauren's memory.
In memory of Lauren Smith Fields. She died after meeting a man on a dating app. Her family says Bridgeport police botching the response. Frank Recchia broke the story and files this report.
I just want to thank God for letting us all want justice for everybody.
Hundreds of people gather in front of the Bridgeport Police Department, including the family of 23-year-old Lauren Smith Fields.
We're doing this for Lauren. We're doing this for justice. We're doing this for every black girl that ever been harmed, that ever been in danger.
On what would have been her 24th birthday, they held a march in Bridgeport, demanding justice and change.
Everyone would cover it, and now it's gone viral. It's not natural for any mother or father to bury their 23-year-old child.
The family's efforts didn't stop there. They pushed for a new law, Lauren's Law, which would require police to notify a deceased person's family within 24 hours of identifying them. This law aims to prevent other families from experiencing the same pain and confusion that Lauren's family went through. Lauren Smith Fields' family is still seeking justice. They want the world to remember Lauren and to fight for a system that treats everyone with respect and care they deserve. Their journey is far from over, but they are determined to keep Lauren's memory alive and to push for the changes needed to protect others. As at the time of making this video, Matthew LaFontaine is still a free man, and the case hasn't made any significant progress yet. We do hope Lauren's family gets the justice they deserve and that Lauren's memory is honored.
I am so sorry for your loss. I want to know what has been the biggest misconception surrounding your daughter's death.
The biggest misconception is that my daughter was on drugs. She was not on drugs. Lauren worked out every day. She was on a plant-based diet. She went to college. She had her own business in her home. There was no drugs. She was not on drugs at all. She had her whole life ahead of her.
Chantel, can you tell us a little bit more about your daughter, like the type of person she was?
Yeah. My daughter was funny. She was, like, when she walks into a room, she lit up the whole room. She loves doing makeup. She loves hanging around with her friends. She loves family. She was very family orientated.
Once again, our sincere condolences to the family. We have covered several cases where the culprit also acted visibly shaken in a bid to divert the police attention from them as prime suspects. However, there is no proof that LaFontaine actually killed her, so we want the detective audience of ours to let us know what they think. Do you think we should have a murder case on our hands? Or were the police right to dismiss? Also, do you think the police dismissal was due to an investigation they felt had a dead end? Or were there some traces of racism in this? Let us know your thoughts down below. If you haven't already done so, please like this video and subscribe to our channel.